Hello, my name is Tatiana Pilavarova. I'm going to begin the presentation for IT343 team case study. We're team 8. We're going to be covering Too Far Ahead of the IT Curve by John Glaser. And these are team members. So first I'm going to begin with facts. And one of the main things is to look at the key team players in this case study. The key individuals are involved in this case study is Max Bernd, a surgeon by training, but here we'll look at him as a CEO of Peachtree Healthcare, who's been in this position for over 12 years. Next important key individual is Paul Leffner, a board chairman of Peachtree Healthcare, and the CEO of Wyndham Trust, which is a retail bank and a mortgage lender. Paul is the one who's having conversation with the Max in the beginning of case study and puts the beginning to making decision for standardization in future. Another two important individuals are Max's key team players, which are Candice Markovich, the Chief Information Officer of Peachtree Healthcare, and Tom Drain, a Chief Financial Officer. Further down, we looking at the important locations for this presentation. We have to look at the conversation that I mentioned earlier that takes place at the health club near Peachtree Marietta headquarters, where Max and Paul are playing squash games and drinking iced tea and having the conversation about standardization and difficulties with including that in the healthcare industry. Further down, important location and event is Max's visit of Wallace Memorial Hospital in Decatur, which is the most recent addition to Peachtree Healthcare, where Max is witnessing the outcomes of a recent incident, which we're going to cover in the next slide. Yes, and when a crucial conversation that the crucial conversations occur over several months to actually implement any of the ideas and begin the process of involving standardization in their Peachtree facilities. Of course, this involves Max, as we mentioned, and his team, Paul, and other stakeholders. They're all being part of this ongoing discussion. Another crucial incident that I mentioned earlier that put beginning of all of this and caused all this urgency, which is an incident at the Wallace Memorial Hospital that takes a few days prior of Max's visit. They call this incident as a meltdown of a clinical information system. And this, of course, as I mentioned, causes a sense of urgency in addressing the challenges faced by organization and importance of a change and fast change, of course. Then we are following with why, and all of this important to Max because of his motivations. As we mentioned earlier, Max's goal as a CEO is to ensure quality, consistency, and continuity of care across the entire network of Peachtree healthcare facilities, which is a pretty large network if we look at it further. And then, of course, Paul and his other team or other board members advocate for the standardization and the system integration to improve efficiency, competitiveness in the healthcare industry. And of course, that will bring some kind of security for never having to, of course not never, but for not having a lot of these incidents that were talked about earlier that happened in the Wallace Memorial Hospital. Of course, it's important to talk about what is it all about. Max and Paul discussed the need for standardization, as I mentioned earlier, and the challenges that this large Peachtree healthcare facilities are facing, and of course, we have to mention all of the scale, which is the original network. Peachtree's original network of 11 hospitals, clinics, trauma centers, rehabilitation facilities, and nursing homes. We have to point out that this discussion about the potential implementation of monolithic system or adopting the service-oriented architecture, which they call SOA in this case study, which is a strategy for system integration and standardization. It is important to point out how they talk about the advantages and disadvantages of either of these two, and we're going to cover those further down in this presentation. And then moving on to how they actually work and try to decide which system will work for them best. Actually, it's important to point out their processes, which involve Max and his team, with the team I mentioned, of Candace and Tom, the Chief Financial Officer, Tom, and Candace, Chief Information Officer, and how they navigate to determine the best approach for standardization. And as mentioned here, they engage in discussions and meetings to explore best approach. We're gonna also, it's important to bring out the Candace's work, which included ensuring the uptime and the performance and the quality across the Peachtree healthcare, and ability of efficient, reliable service for all of the facilities and all of their patients. And then, of course, Tom Drain's involvement in this is looking closely at evaluating the financial aspects of decision that must be made, and how financially this will take a turn for them, no matter depending on which system they're going to choose. And of course, this discussion, as I mentioned, of advantages and disadvantages of a monolithic system, which involves a massive redesign of a business process. And if we look at SOA system, which offers a flexibility and selective standardization. Overall, the case study presents a complex and compelling scenario within the Peachtree Healthcare. And then I hope that through exploration of the facts, you were able to gain a valuable insight into challenges that this healthcare facilities face, and all the decision-making process involved in this, which further down will be covered even more. Thank you for attention, and I want to introduce you to Sarah Rashad, who's going to cover the issues that Peachtree Healthcare were faced with. Thank you.
Thank you, Tatiana, for presenting the facts. As for the issues found in Peachtree Healthcare, it starts off with, first and foremost, the need for standardization. This will ensure that processes, procedures, and systems are consistent across the organization. This can help maintain a high level of quality in healthcare delivery, as standardized approaches often represent best practices and evidence-based guidelines. Many other reasons why standardization will help to solve the problem is it will achieve efficiency and consistency by implementing common systems and processes all throughout the organization. The organization can streamline workflows, reduce redundancies, and ensure that all facilities follow best practices. Facilitating interoperability between different facilities and healthcare providers will also allow seamless sharing of patient information and promotes continuity of care, such as when patients visit multiple facilities of Peachtree Healthcare. Facilitating cost savings by optimizing resource utilization and reducing the need for customized solutions is also how it will solve a problem. It will simplify IT management, training, and support, potentially lowering operational costs over time. Another issue is balancing business objectives and patient care. The decision making process involves balancing business objectives such as efficiency and standardization with healthcare delivery, where patient care and physician autonomy play a role. There's an importance of maintaining physicians' freedom to make clinical judgments while also recognizing the benefits of best practices and standardization in certain areas. High costs and budget considerations is also an issue because the implementation of new IT systems, whether through a monolithic approach or SOA, comes with significant costs, also predicting that it will exceed the initial estimates from what they have estimated already. A large belief that it would also be worth the cost and efforts if done correctly. Rewards outweigh the risk in most people's minds. Now for Emery to present the rest of the issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. My name's Emery Ork, and I'll be talking about some of the other issues that were faced. And the first one would be that the current infrastructure required way too much manpower and energy. It was considered really risky to continue on with the system that was currently in place. Stuff was failing, falling apart, work was getting harder and harder every single day, employees were getting stressed out, um, and they just couldn't do the jobs that they needed to properly due to the needed upgrades and constant problems that were arising. And it was believed that that same manpower could go towards newer and better infrastructure, making those same employees' lives easier and making their work easier, cutting out the anxiety and stress that they were facing from dealing with these constant problems and constant failures of the current, basically broken system. And it was broken because it was basically incompatible with the goals and ideas that they had in mind for the future of the company. The sooner infrastructure like this can be upgraded and moved to a better system, the easier the transition would be, the easier everyone can move toward that system and upgrade everything so they can get used to the new way of life and the new system and how everything works, rather than leave it till the last minute, let everything fail, and then leave employees with having to figure all this new stuff out just in a span of a really short amount of time, which would just cause them even more stress. People were beginning to think that it's only a matter of time before the current system falls apart. So it's heavily believed that this transition should happen sooner rather than later. They were facing the pressure of trying to stay ahead of the competition and basically stay relevant in the industry. All these other companies beside them were moving forward, they were moving ahead, changing and adapting to the growing environment, while this broken system was keeping them behind. The pressure of being left behind with this old technology and unable to upgrade slash scale at a pace needed was beginning to get to their minds, get to their heads. It was causing a lot of stress, and it was believed that these newer systems would be easier to upgrade and build around. And another issue was transitioning either to a monolithic system, which was more familiar to everybody, or SOA, which is service-oriented architecture. SOA presented a lot of issues such as unpredictability, risks, and a threat of the fact that if it didn't work out, they'd be in a worse spot had they have just stuck with the monolithic system, which is what everybody was used to. They would have saved money, they would have saved time, a lot of headache if something like that were to happen and they had just not stuck with the regular system. People don't like change in general. Employees wouldn't really like change. They wouldn't want to change away from what they're used to, what they know. They wouldn't want to learn new things. And that's where the monolithic system would have its benefit because even though it might not be the system that they're used to in their company, they're more used to it than a riskier service-oriented architecture. They'd be more used to some parts of the monolithic system, maybe less experimental, and it'd be much easier to implement for the company and for management as a whole in order to make that transition a bit smoother for the ones that may have anxiety or may not be able to transition to a more experimental system, which is what SOA would be. That was some of the other issues. And now Bikram will talk about the pros and cons of both the monolithic and the service-oriented architecture systems.
Hello everyone, my name is Bikram Pokhrel, and first of all, I would like to thank you, Sarah and Emre, for presenting the issue which was covered in the case study. Today, I will be presenting the technology that was involved in our case study. The first technology which used in the study was the monolithic systems. Similar to all technologies, it also has own pro and cons. Monolithic systems offer several distinct advantages. For example, they can deliver a high level of system availability, which is crucial in healthcare setting where system downtime can have serious consequences. Moreover, because monolithic systems have been around for quite a while, their implementation process, timeline, and cost are often more predictable compared to the new technologies like SOA system. Additionally, they offer clear, well-organized pattern of work that can be easier to manage and control. However, monolithic systems also come with notable downsides. The cost of implementation can be quite high, which could pose a financial risks. That are also inflexible by design, making it hard to adapt to technologies and changes, whether they are monitoring, technological, or business related. A key concern in the consent of healthcare is that they could enforce too much correction, which may interfere with the diverse and independent work style of physicians. On the other hand, SWA offer different advantages. It supports flexibility and allows for incremental changes, making it more adaptable to involving business and technological landscapes. This means when the organization needs to change, the system can be adjusted accordingly. SOA system enables selective standardization, allowing organization to decide which process to normalize and which is to leave flexible. This can be particularly beneficial in the healthcare setting with diverse physician practice. Furthermore, SOA system allows legacy system to be replaced gradually and justifying the risks associated with a wholesale system replacement. Despite all of those advantages, there are significant challenges associated with SOA system as well. The majority of SOA market and its track record in the healthcare industry are still relatively limited. They can and this can be lead to unpredictable implementation costs and timeline, which add to the risk of adopting SOA system. Additionally, because of SOA system is not widely adopted in the healthcare organization that shows being part of risks becoming union peak in the industry, facing the brunt of changing issue and unforeseen challenges. This can be a serious concern in the healthcare and IT system play a crucial role in the patient care. Remember, each organization of constant is unique. So it is essential to consider these pros and cons when you apply this technology in your healthcare system. Thank you everyone for listening to my presentation. And now Harris will cover what should I have done is separate and differently in her translation. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Haris Rana. On this part of the case study, too far ahead of the IT curve, I will talk about what the people in the article should have done to make situations better for themselves. In page 5 of the article, in the section A Femur Meeting, Candice, the CIO, states that even though SOA is cheaper than the monolithic system, there's no data from other companies to prove that. But what I think they should have done is to be the first company to use SOA in order to be unique and innovative from others. Taking risks for the company is better than to follow bandwagon of other companies that follow the same innovative common systems. SOA is also cheaper and more flexible, so they should consider this system. Also, adopting a new system can help the company be famous for using a never before used system, and people will see it as an achievement. In the same section, Max, the CEO of Peachtree, states that from now on, employees can wear uniforms for the first time and have a standard to follow, but doesn't see the point in it due to him seeing as something not gained. But what Max and Peachtree should have done is to review and discuss these policies by when Peachtree Healthcare started, since it's so important. They need to write and adopt a document of policies for the employees to follow and should have reviewed these policies together for agreement. They should have known that realizing policies can help achieve company orders, safety, and understanding, in which they struggle to focus and grasp on. As said, it has to be seen in the context of something gained. Also stated in the section Femur meeting in page 5, Max listens to Candace state out the cons of using SOA. She said SOA is new and no other company has used it. What Candace and Max should have done instead of conversing about this is to instead let officials and employees themselves decide which system is best to use. Max and Candace should recognize group cooperation and views. It is not just their opinions on to decide if SOA is good or not. They should meet up with the employees and present the two different systems and then let them vote on which system is better. The system with higher votes can win for utilizing. They should realize the significance of group cooperation rather than their own opinions and decisions. In page 3 of the article, in the section Medicine is Different, Candace states that large systems require lots of time for redesigning, and that hardware and software for these systems are majorly expensive on top of its add-ons. What Peachtree should have done is not to be concerned about this issue, is to realize the actual significance and role of IT systems like SOA and Monolithic, and to fund a fundraiser or donation to not be concerned about the expenses. They should have kept eye on more on the IT systems way earlier, as it should have helped them today. They should also plan on what specific software and hardware to buy and use with the project management methodologies in order to have the best IT product that they can afford by saving money. This concludes the section of should have done in the case study. Now let's move on to will do now section presenting by Mariam Riaz.
Hi everyone, my name is Mariam Riaz, and today I'm going to talk about four proactive actions and how they can be helpful in will do now part of my case study too far ahead of the IT curve. So let me share my screen so that I can share what I have done in the slides. Okay. So this is my part will do now. The first proactive action was taken by Paul. So Paul is the board chairman of this company, whose name is Peachtree. Peachtree is a healthcare provider company, and it has faculties in different locations. So the first proactive action taken by Paul, he just took advanced steps to solve the complicated task by collaborating and conversation with his team. So his management team is good in making complicated tasks easier through the collaboration. So this business management can help the company to seize the opportunities to stay ahead along with other competitors. Second proactive action was again taken by Paul. So this time Paul put pressure upon Max to follow the common system and broad standards which are being used by other healthcare providers. Max is the CEO of the company. So this proactive competition along with other healthcare providers can lead their company to customer satisfaction along with good outcomes of providing the services to the patients. The third proactive action was taken by Candace. Candace is the CEO, is working under the CEO, and she is a CIO of the Peachtree company. She attended the meeting with the CFO of the company, and she shared her concerns regarding the performance quality and infrastructure of the project. So she thinks that the performance quality of her team work is not good, and she thinks that the current energy and budget they are putting into their work will fail to advance the progress of their project. So this proactively management can anticipate the delays, and team members can take correct measures to keep the project on the track, and they can take some more advanced steps to make their project work before their final presentation. The fourth proactive action was taken by Max. Max is the CEO of Peachtree Healthcare. So He just want to know that how much it's gonna be cost to update all the technology across all the P3's faculties. So this can help this proactive action can help the CEO to proactively identifying the potential risk and make other plans work before their final presentation, and this can make their project successful. The next part to me is lessons learned, and um, this will be talked to you guys by Hamza Ramadan. Thank you so much for listening.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hamza Ramadan, and today I will be presenting lessons learned in Too Far Ahead of the IT Curve. So, lesson one would be the complexity of change and transition. As you guys know, any organization would wish to have a change that results in an improvement. However, the activity is not always easy. There are struggles in making the change realistic. So in this case, which we read about, Peachtree Healthcare faces an imminent IT infrastructure problem with COO Max Brandon needs to fix by contemplating introducing service-oriented architecture, which is also called SOA. So the issue is that the organization's accessibility and effectiveness of the new model. This scenario symbolizes the high probability of complexity in initiating a new model in an organization. The second lesson we learned from this scenario would be the role of leadership. So leadership is vital in change, effective leadership skills, and visionary leadership. CEO Max is at a test of his leadership level. He knows that healthcare requires a new IT model, but he knows he cannot command the adoption without etiquette deliberations. Leadership is vital element in change management. It is a tool that measures the success of a project and the entire organization. For instance, if Max is unknowledgeable and ignorant about the potential consequences of the change, it may cause him more harm. Visions should guide leadership. For example, Max has the vision to obtain a design that standardizes incrementally and selectively. Besides that, he knows that it is not good to gamble with patients' lives for untested models. Now we talked about the second lesson we learned. Lesson 3, and which is the final lesson, is about risk-taking in organization. So risks are part of life. Risk exploration, gradual induction of new changes. So several businesses thrive through risks, which Austin have mentioned in 2023. Certain risks pay huge dividends, although the beginning may seem challenging and uncertain. Moving positively towards exploration is good. In this case, Bishri Healthcare has every reason to try the new technology, because it is better to fail while trying than fail to not try at all. If I were Max, I would consider Montefiore's insights into the dilemma. The Chief Information Officer at American Airlines advises that healthcare should gradually replace the old systems with the new model. This lesson is essential because it will calculate the desired outcomes, which is flexibility and control, while aligning the team with the SOA model. So after I have completed the 3 lessons learned from this scenario, I will be presenting the references which we used in this case. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation, and I hope you like it. Thank you.